Hello, guys. Sorry I'm a moment late. I am here. Josh, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, you're very welcome. Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. We're happy to have you. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. Dave, if I could talk you into putting up the flag, we're going to do our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you guys. Do I have a volunteer for today's invocation or a motivational phrase? Otherwise, I've got one. Okay, I don't see any hands. So my inspirational phrase of the day isn't so inspirational, it's more maybe motivational. But it's from Mark Twain. He said, if you hold a cat by the tail, you learn things you cannot learn any other way. I thought that was pretty clever. So I like that. All right. So Josh, we've got you as our guest today. I don't see any other guests. Welcome, Linda Walker. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Let's see. And then we'll move into some announcements. Happy birthday to Libby Ritchie, who's Chris's wife. She just had a birthday a couple days ago. She's the only birthday this week. As far as volunteer opportunities, we have our Kiwanis Food Project. Collection Day is December 4th. Anything more on that, Earl? Do we have anything to share with the group?
Not anything really great. I hope some of the folks saw the paper yesterday. There was a good article on the front page about the food pantries, and that in Redmond, they had a particular section in there. The need is very great. So they serve over 800 folks a month, and there are a good number of kids involved in that.
Awesome. Thank you. Next announcement is that Seas Candy is coming up. So Hannah will be reaching out to secure some volunteers, and I might let her speak on that.
Yes, things are going well. While Carl is gone, I did a little publicity that's not finished yet. We're in the Redmond Buzz online, and Dave has put up our hours and days on our website. And we're working on ads for the Redmond Roundup and so forth. Now Carl is back and he'll help me. But basically, the candy comes in on Monday, November 22. Yeah, there we are. And I'll need help on Tuesday, the 23rd, because it will be on a pallet wrapped up in my garage. So just let me know in the chat if you are available and at what time on Tuesday to help me unpack that. And then as far as signups, Nicole Gee has created a sign up, and that will be sent out as soon as possible.
Wonderful. Okay, thanks, Hannah. The next announcement is next week, we are going back to hybrid. So I'm excited for this. We're going to, hey, thanks, Ann. We're going to go ahead and invite those that are willing and interested to meet in person back at Juniper. Amber Wilson has so graciously purchased an owl, which is a very cool group type of camera, speaker, the whole thing for our hybrid setup. So we're really, really excited. We're going to test that thing out next Wednesday morning and then attempt to do this live Wednesday at noon. So anybody who's ready to get back into live meetings is welcome to join us at Juniper. Any other announcements for the greater good? Okay.
Josh, I have one.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm at home with sick kids. I miss the office. For those of you, guys, please be quiet. We will be sending out a member engagement questionnaire to the membership. We're essentially looking to get some feedback and see how everyone is doing with Kiwanis, just a pulse check to make sure that everyone feels engage the way they want to. So look for that here in the next week, and more to come on that. Thank you. That's all.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Help the kids feel better. Any shout outs for anybody? I wanted to give a round of applause to Hannah for all the hard work she's done. She's really pulled this Seas Candy thing together. I know she's done this for a couple of years now, but it just seems like she doesn't stress about it. There's just so many moving parts and she just does it so flawlessly. So thank you, Hannah. We appreciate you. Let's move into happy dollars. For Josh's sake here, I'm gonna read our definition of what a happy dollar is. So it says, our group believes that there's enough negativity in the world and we would rather focus on the positives. So if someone would like to share something they're happy for, or several somethings, please share it with the group for a donation of $1 a piece. So I will go ahead and go first. I'm gonna donate 7 happy dollars. I had 7 fantastic days out of town last week. And we went to the Oregon coast, really enjoyed the stormy weather. And I was kind of sad to come home, to be honest with you guys, but here we are. Anybody else who's happy? Earl, go ahead.
I've got 2 happy dollars. First of all, I'm happy that my Michigan State Spartans won again. And so that's always good news for me. And secondly, I'm happy in advance. I'm going to go to Phoenix to see my son, and my daughter's coming down to have Thanksgiving together. So I'll miss next week's meeting, but I'll be happy where I'm at in the sunshine.
Awesome. Thanks, Earl. Alan.
I'll do 5 happy dollars in advance. The first thing is I'm trying to get my snow tires swapped out at Les Schwab. Man, I tried to get an appointment the middle of October and they said December. So, but you can go stand in line in the morning. So I'm going to go do that in the morning and I'm going to get an appointment and I'm going to get my tires changed. I'm going to be positive. The other positive thing is Thanksgiving is coming up and we're going to have like 12 people. It's going to be fun.
That's awesome. Well, good luck at Les Schwab.
Yeah.
Carl.
So I have 100 pesos. That's $5 for a missed meeting. We were in Puerto Vallarta for 10 days at an all-inclusive resort, and it was our 6th time there. And every time the experience is wonderful. And some of the staff know us now, and some of the guests are repeaters, and so it was a good experience.
That's awesome. Very good. John Bruce.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I have 5 happy dollars, and I'm not sure in any order, but the first one is that I went to the doctor last week and she told me she didn't want to see me for a year. That made me very happy. And I told her I didn't want to see her either. So that was a 2-way street. I also am excited because our family's coming over. My daughter is bringing her family over for Thanksgiving. I also attended 2 Key Club meetings. I may not be happy for other people, but I enjoyed working with the high school kids. And it was an interesting thing because in the halls, kids would never greet you, but they have some kind of a movement going on apparently, because I had a lot of people greeting me as I went into the classroom. It's kind of neat to have that happen. I missed talk about Halloween. I carved pumpkins and I'm not very good at costumes. And I also put up decorations outside and I like the kids coming by. So that made me happy too. Anyway, great week. Glad I could respond that way.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Anybody else happy? Mike, go ahead.
We'll go for 5 happy dollars. The Beavs won. Bowl eligible again for a long time that we've been waiting for. We got to go over and tailgate and had a fantastic time at the game. The Beavers men's soccer team, number 1 seed going into the NCAA tournament, Pac-12 champion outright. Daughter Kaya, our granddaughter, got her first letter at Philomath High as a freshman in cross country and got to watch 2 grandkids, Abby's 2, Micah and Madeline, playing a band concert last night from Bismarck due to the nice performance capabilities they've got with their system to broadcast it.
That's awesome. Yeah, OSU soccer looking really good. All right, any other happy dollars today? Otherwise, we'll move right into my joke of the day. Oh, John Duff.
Yeah, I'll put in $5 as well. First of all, Josh, thanks for being our speaker today. I always like hearing about all the water issues that our county is facing, especially in this crazy drought situation we got going on. So thanks for coming, especially on short notice. But also very happy for the Ducks to get a win over Washington State. That team always scares me. Sometimes they just have our number, but it was a good game, and glad to see them keep marching on. Now we got Utah, one game at a time. Excited for Thanksgiving. Olivia's coming home. She might bring a friend from Alaska, so that might be fun. I think Michelle and I are going to get her on Tuesday, which will be cool. Maybe Josh, you said next week we're out at Juniper.
Yes.
So maybe we can bring her out for that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then I think that's it. I guess I had $1 left. I'm happy for the Beavs to go bowling too. So that's always better for the conference it's better for the state to have both teams doing well. And I'm excited for the see where the Beavs go.
Awesome. Thanks, John. You even said that with a straight face. I appreciate that.
Hey, if they go to Vegas, we might be going to that game. That'd be kind of fun.
Book your flights. All right. Any other happy dollars before we move on? Okay. I've got to assume you guys are all comfortable with the blonde joke, right? Can I get a nod of heads, yay or nay? Okay. All right. So here it goes. An old blind Marine wanders into an all-girl biker bar by mistake. He finds his way to a bar stool and orders a shot of whiskey. After sitting there for a while, he yells to the bartender, "Hey, you want to hear a blonde joke?" The bar immediately falls absolutely silent. In a very deep, husky voice, the woman sitting next to him says, "Sir, before you tell that joke, I think it's only fair, given that you are blind, that you should know 5 things. Number 1, the bartender is a blonde girl with a baseball bat. Number 2, the bouncer is a blonde girl. Number 3, I'm a 6 foot tall, 175-pound blonde woman with a black belt in karate. Number 4, the woman sitting next to me is also blonde and is a professional weightlifter. And number 5, the lady to your right is also blonde and is a professional wrestler." Now, with all that in mind, think about this seriously. Do you still want to tell that blonde joke? The man thinks for a moment and shakes his head and mutters, "No, not anymore. Not if I'm going to have to explain it 5 times. All right. Someone shared that to me on Facebook, and I thought that's very, very funny. I like that. So I hadn't done a blonde joke before, so I thought I'd go there. All right. Well, Josh, thank you for joining us today. The floor is yours. Tell us about the irrigation district.
Okay, great. I did email my bio over. Was someone going to read that before we got going or no?
I can do that. Yep.
Yep.
So our speaker today is Josh Bailey. Josh is the general manager for the North Unit Irrigation District. Josh was born or was raised in Big Bear, California, grew up hunting, fishing, mountain biking, and snowboarding. He joined the U.S. Army 82nd Airborne Division after high school as a communications specialist. After his tour of duty, he returned home and started a construction company where he spent 19 years constructing homes in Southern California. He was looking for a change and had an opportunity to move and purchase a large irrigation company in Northern California. After 2 years of managing the business, he decided not to purchase it, but wanted to remain in the farming agricultural community. He was hired by the North Unit Irrigation District in the spring of 2019 as their water master construction supervisor and became general manager spring of 2021. He's currently lives in Madras, Oregon with his wife and 3 children. And that's it. Looking forward to hearing from you, Josh.
Very good. Thank you. This is one of the first times I've been with your organization. in this type of a setting, as far as giving a presentation, Mike Kirsch and Tom Kirsch have invited me to a few of the meetings here in Madras that I've participated in, and Mike's been tightening the screws on me to get signed up, and so I think I'll be pulling the trigger next year to join your organization. So looking forward to that. I do appreciate and enjoy meeting a lot of people in the community, and I've become good friends with the local police chief and some of the other local business owners here in Madras, and so it's definitely been a good opportunity for me in that regard. So today, kind of cram about 10 pounds of information in about a 1 pound bucket for you. I'm just going to kind of give you the 30,000 foot view on who we are as an irrigation district, and kind of highlight what this year was like for us, and then where we're going in the future. And so if it's okay, I'm going to share my screen here. I put together a bit of a Frankenstein. Let's try this. How about that? Can you see that?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, let's back up here. Let's try that. Okay, there we go. Put together a bit of a Frankenstein presentation, kind of pulled from here and pulled from there, and kind of put something together, because I'm going to talk about a lot of topics. If you need some clarification or have any questions, feel free to stop me. But okay, so for those of you who don't know, North Unit Irrigation District, we're the second largest irrigation district in the state of Oregon. We're the largest irrigation district in Central Oregon here. We produce the most GDP in crops. Some of the crops that we produce are about 60%, I think it's about 62% of the world hybrid carrot seed, and about 50% of the normal carrot seed. And in addition to that, we do, hay and grasses, Kentucky bluegrass, potato seed, garlic seed, dill, parsley seed, and one of our farmers is actually producing poppy seed for environmental species mitigation in the Midwest. So we have a lot of products that we do produce for the world. And when you think about the 65% or 62% of the world's hybrid carrot seed, that's pretty significant. And we have a great partnership. It's called the DBBC, Deschutes Basin Board of Control. And what that consists of is pretty much all the irrigation districts in Central Oregon. We've kind of come together essentially under one head. We meet, and we meet monthly, but general managers and staff almost weekly, and we're talking daily amongst each other to coordinate water and different issues that come up, and kind of watching out for each other's backs and stuff like that. And it is really, really good that we all work together so well. In addition to that, we work really good, and we try to maintain positive relationships with the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, all the cities and local municipalities and the county and state agencies and stuff like that. One of the things I learned coming into this job is how many outside relationships that I need to maintain. And yesterday was my 6-month mark as the incoming general manager. And for those of you that don't know, Mike Britton has been the general manager for the district for going on 13 years. And he's still around. Right now, he's actually giving another presentation for another group. And Mike and I are working in tandem. I don't know, you can look at a father-son relationship. He's kind of keeping me in between the rails and making sure I don't go off track and do or say something I'm not supposed to, because there is a tremendous amount that I've learned and continue to learn. So Mike will be around till about April of next year. And then at that time, he's going to be with the district on a limited part-time basis, and where he'll be specifically working on some of our bigger projects that I'll share a little bit later in the presentation. So with that, I've got a couple of chats here real quick. Oh, nothing there. Okay, just want to make sure you don't have any questions or anything for me. So I'd like to kind of go through, I don't want to read this 2 pages here, but I'm going to kind of go over and just highlight for those that don't know about the irrigation district. So first of all, we have 58,892 acres of farmland in Jefferson County. The first serious study of irrigation for North Unit was done in 1913. And then February 28th, 1913 was when we received our first water permit. July 21st, 1938, construction on our district. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. July 21st, 1938, construction began on our district. And during World War II, construction was halted, but we were still able to deliver water to 17,000 acres during 1946, 1947, and then all 50,000 acres by the spring of 1949. The project was set up and operated by the Bureau of Reclamation until 1955, when North Unit Irrigation took over its operation. It's responsibility of the water right owners in the district to repay the Bureau of Reclamation for the construction of the project. Water for our project comes from both the Deschutes River and the Crooked River. Water for the Deschutes rights are stored in Wickiup Reservoir, and we have a pumping plant on the Crooked River that supplies supplemental water. Any additional water left to pump from the Crooked River is the only source for the Crooked River water rights. So in addition to the district's 2 reservoirs, Wickiup and Haystack Re-Regulating Reservoir, there are 65 miles of canals and 235 miles of laterals. The water travels from Wickiup Reservoir in the Deschutes River to Bend, where it is diverted into North Unit Main Canal. And there are several structures along the way to help the water reach the project. The Crooked River flume, which is behind Terrebonne, which is directly above our pumping plant, is a 540-foot long concrete structure that has a driving deck on top, and then it has about a 10 by 10 flume underneath that conveys the water across the Crooked River. And that's about 200 feet off the river. And if everyone wants to come out, and take a look at that infrastructure, I'm more than happy to facilitate that. It's a very impressive structure there right next to Smith Rock State Park. So just north of our flume, we have 2 concrete line tunnels that have a total length of over 1.25 miles. And then we have a steel siphon here in Madras that's about 1,000 feet long, about an 8-foot diameter, that conveys water across the Willow Creek Canyon of Madras. So we have an impressive amount of infrastructure. And the reason why, and I'll talk about water rights here in a little bit, but the reason why our water rights are junior to the other irrigation districts is because of the enormity of our project and the amount of infrastructure and the amount of work that it took to construct the facilities. It's one thing to talk about it, but when you really get out there and see it, it's really, really impressive. And one of the biggest things there is Wickiup Reservoir. It's located up on the Deschutes River. I'm sure a lot of you have been there up above Lapine. That reservoir has a capacity of 200,000 acre feet, which is 30 times as large as Haystack, or 30 times larger than Haystack Reservoir. It's an earth-filled structure, 90 feet high and 14,100 feet long. And so it's incredibly, incredibly long. And we had a safety of dams inspections a number of years ago, and there was a concern that the length of the structure about it bulging in a seismic activity. And so the Bureau came through and spent millions of dollars reinforcing that structure. So in addition to our 14,000 foot long dam, we have what we call the East Dike, which is 25 foot tall and 3,400 feet long. And the water surface area on normal storage is about 10,200 acres. So that's the surface area that Wickiup Reservoir covers. On our Crooked River pumping plant, we have 9 450 horsepower pumps, and we lift that water out of the Crooked River about 120 feet, and we deposit that into our main canal. And then in 1956 to 57, the district constructed Haystack Reservoir. And Haystack Reservoir, it's about 6,600 acre feet. The dam is 100 feet high, and it's about 755 feet across. And that reservoir there helps us regulate our water. So as water operators in the summertime, and most people don't understand this, but it takes 3 days to get the water from Wickiup to Haystack. And so we have to essentially, our water master, Dennis Kruger, and our operations manager, Gary Calhoun, they have crystal balls in their office, and they're constantly looking at their crystal ball and tea leaves and what the farmers are doing and what our water elevations are and stuff like that. And we're making adjustments to Wickiup to keep constant flow coming in. It was on normal operation. We typically only have, depending on how much water we're flowing, we only have about maybe 4 or 5 days of water in Haystack Reservoir. Well, if you get in a pinch, it takes 3 days for the water to get to you. Yeah, you really got to stay on top of things. So Wickiup and Haystack Reservoirs are both open to the general public for recreational use. There's campgrounds up on both of them, and people do a lot of windsurfing, water skiing, and fishing for rainbow, brown trout, salmon, crappie, catfish, and bass. Let's see here. North Unit has installed several pipelines with funding from various grants throughout the project. The pipelines have been a valuable means for saving water since piping eliminates evaporation and seepage losses. A large lining project on the first 12 miles of our main canal was done in the late 90s. And since then, last year we just finished up a 8-mile, 48-inch diameter pipeline project on the far northern end of our district. And this year we've received some grants to do some additional piping work as well. If we can line a canal, that's our, we would love to do that, but we'd like to pipe it first because that protects it from evaporation and seepage. But as you know, piping is expensive. So that's a little bit kind of about a general overview about our district. We have about 900 patrons, or 900 accounts, should I say. Like I said, 58,000 acres. The majority of our farmers are all big agricultural producers and big companies. We do have a handful of smaller mom and pop type farms and stuff like that. We have a couple of farm to table type outfits as well. So with that overview, here's a map here of the irrigation districts in Central Oregon. And you can see where my cursor is here in Madras. This here is North Unit Irrigation District, basically where 97 crosses over the Crooked River. That is the start of North Unit. And then down here, when it was originally constructed, this was all considered the South Unit. But in here, you've got Central Oregon Irrigation, you've got Arnold Irrigation, you've got Three Sisters, you've got Tumalo, you've got Lone Pine, and Ochoco and Swally, all those other irrigation districts over here. So as you can see here, here's Wickiup Dam right here. We release water out of Wickiup Dam, it goes into the Deschutes River, goes down, we pick it up out of the Deschutes River here in Bend, and then we have a main canal that goes around behind Redmond Airport and then down into Terrebonne, and that's where our pumping plant is, where our flume is, and then the water eventually pops out here, right here, and then kind of goes down and around, and then right here is where we have Haystack Reservoir, and then like I said, the over 250 plus miles of laterals and canals and pipes to distribute that water to everywhere over there. I have a tree company here that's out cutting down a tree. Is that problematic for you guys? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
We're good? Okay.
Nope, no problem.
All right. We got any questions so far on anything?
Yes.
Yes,
How
go
is
ahead.
the drought affecting your operations?
That's my next slide here. And I'll get right into that. Any other questions? Okay. Actually, I'm sorry, it's not my next slide. It'll be the slide after that. Here is our how the water rights were parceled out in the Central Oregon. As you can see, Arnold Irrigation, they've got 4,384 acres. Their water rights were at 1905. Central Oregon, they're at 44,000. Their water rights are 1900. Lone Pine, here's North Unit. Our water rights are at 1913, and Ochco, 1928. Swally, 1899. And so these dates here that you see, these are what they call priority dates. So the earlier date takes the priority for the water allocation. And so you see that you've got a Lone Pine with a 1900, COID at 1900, Arnold 1905. So these are all senior water rights to ours. And then also Tumalo, they have a 1905 as well. So what that means is they have access to the live flow in the river. The live flow is water that comes in naturally, and we have to release a certain amount downstream for fish and wildlife and habitat. But then the other remainder of water, live flow, gets parceled out according to whoever has the most senior water rights. So by the time North Unit got our water right in 1913, the live flow rights were essentially parceled out. And so what they had to do is they had to construct a storage reservoir called Wickiup Reservoir during the World War II years there to store that 200,000 acre feet of water. And so essentially, if there's no live flow or excess live flow, North Unit has to pull water out of Wickiup. That's considered our storage water. So years like this year, as I put in the title of this slide here, 2021, the year of all years. So for me, I call it the year of all years because I started as general manager here in May. And boy, I tell you what, I walked into a firestorm, and unbeknownst to me on how the year would actually turn out. So based on the conditions earlier in the season, from reports from state agencies that gave us report on snowpack and what they expected the water to look like, our board of directors allocated 1 acre foot of water to our district patron. So what that means is if you have 1 acre of ground, you get 1 foot of water, and you can parcel that out however you want, and you can call on that water whenever you like as well. Now, normal allotment for our district is 2 acre feet. So our farmers started off the season with half their allotment of water. And when that allotment was set, our board of directors was confident there would be ample water to meet the need. And then our next bullet point there is our the report that we had at the beginning of the season was our average snowpack was higher than normal, but the problem is that snowpack, it never turned into live flow. It essentially just absorbed right into the grounds. And we learned that it was kind of the end of May, beginning of June timeframe. We realized, wow, where's the live flow? We're like 200 to 300 CFS short of where we normally are on a normal year. And then, as you know, in the beginning of June, we had those 8+ days of over 100-degree weather that really clobbered us. So what we realized about midway through our irrigation season is that there was not going to be enough water. We were pulling too much storage water out of Wickiup Reservoir, and we weren't going to make it. And so we had to make some tough decisions early on. And what we did is we reduced the allotment 1/10 of a foot. So now instead of having 1 foot of water, now the farmers have 9/10 of a foot. And then about a week later, the drought, the severity of it kicked in even more, and we really realized that there's not going to be enough water coming coming into Haystack Reservoir to sustain our current flows. So we had to reduce the allotment again. And then in addition to that, we had to put an order cap on our patrons. So our system is what they call an on-demand system, meaning our patrons, they can call by 5 p.m. and they can place a water order for the next couple of days or however long they want. So our ditch riders, those are the ones that go out and they physically churn the water on. They churn the water on to that farmer and they measure that water. And then when that farmer is done with that water, we go and shut that water off. So it's just like a more or less like a faucet. You turn it on, you get it, you shut it off, we shut it off. And we strive to be as efficient as we can with that so we can save as much water and stretch it out over the whole course of the season. Well, what we had to do is we had to put a cap on how much water our patrons can order on an individual day. And for those that have pivots or wheel lines, or the very few that do flood irrigation, they didn't have enough water left to be able to actually run their pivot. And so their max they could order, let's say, was a foot of water. It's like, well, I need a foot and a half of water to run my pivot. So then we had to work with bunching orders, and it was really, really challenging, but we were able to limp through that season. And we had to shut off water in August 20th, and we were able to restart October 6th. But some of the repercussions of this were incredibly severe. So right now, farmers have already planted for next season. They plant typically in September timeframe to get those plants up enough so they can winter, and then they start irrigating them again in the spring. Well, when you plan on getting a certain amount of water, you're ordering fertilizer, and you're out there working those fields and irrigating them, stuff like that, and all of a sudden you get a reduction in your water. The farmer goes, wow, I don't have enough water to irrigate this field. And so farmers literally had to walk away from fields that had already been irrigated, but they didn't have enough water to make those or bring those crops to fruition. Some of them had put on, let's say, $50,000 worth of fertilizer on their field. And with the fertilizer, you have to immediately water that in. Otherwise, it essentially evaporates in the air. And I had quite a few reports of farmers that put fertilizer on, and then we made that reduction, and boom. So now not only are they out the crop, but now they're out the fertilizer bill as well. So absolutely devastating impact for this drought had on North Unit farmers. I haven't seen the real number yet, but we anticipate somewhere between $30 to $40 million just in seed crop losses alone. And so that was really, really a big punch in the ribs. So some of the things that did help us make it as long as we could through August, COID, or Central Oregon Irrigation District, they were able to make some operational water available to us. And then the live flow dropped out and they weren't able to make that anymore. But some of the biggest things are North Unit being incredibly efficient system, and we have to be, because we're the junior water right holder, so we have to be incredibly proficient with our water and make every drop count. I'd say the vast majority of our patrons, they have their pivot irrigation or sprinkler irrigation, or a lot of them now have gone to drip irrigation, which is incredibly labor intensive, but it uses that much less water. And we have to do what we have to do, and our patrons have done a good job making that work. So catastrophic year for us. We were able to put a little bit of water on, or rewater as they call it, in October. We did get a few rainstorms in September that helped a lot of people out as well, so that was good. Any questions on the drought or the impact that it had on the district?
So I was curious about future years. Given climate change, I think you guys are going to be on the short end of the stick, right?
Yeah, and that's going to be another talking point here. So 2021 was already a tough year. And then on top of that, this was the first year of what they call the HCP, or the Habitat Conservation Plan. So for those that don't know, and I'm just going to really briefly talk about this. I mean, I could talk about this for a whole hour, but we'll just kind of do the 30,000 foot view here. The HCP is essentially a plan to protect endangered species, i.e. the Oregon spotted frog or the bull trout, from incidental take. And that means if by our irrigation practices we killed some spotted frog, well, this plan here is a plan going forward to help protect and help revive those endangered species. And so this year, 2021, was the first year that we implemented that plan. And it was a very, very challenging situation for us because it puts severe constraints on how we operate our reservoir and water that we release at certain times. We have to meet certain flow targets throughout the year. You know, starting, we have to ramp up a certain way in the spring, and then we have to meet certain flow targets, and we have to ramp back down at a certain time. And we can only bring reservoirs down to a certain level, and we have monthly coordination calls with our partners and different things like that. And so that in and of itself was very challenging. And then on top of that was the 100-year drought, is what we've kind of called it. And so that's kind of the 30,000 foot view of the HCP without getting too much in the weeds. Anyone have any specific questions on that?
When do you have to release the water for the frogs?
It's kind of a year-round deal. We have ramp-up procedures in the spring where we slowly ramp up. We have to be up to a certain flow by a certain date. I think like April 15th, just off the top of my head, I think we have to be like 600 CFS. And then we have to be up a little bit higher. And then we have to maintain flows at Benham Falls of about 1300 CFS from, I think it's June to September 15th. And then after that, then we have to start ramping down, but we can't ramp down too much. And we have to ramp down at a certain stage. And so we have partners and different agencies and biologists and a lot of people helping us with that process to making sure that we're towing the line and we're abiding by the HCP. It's a tough plan, but it does help us and it protects our district so we can continue to provide water to our patrons. So it's constantly changing, to essentially answer your question. And in the wintertime, after we shut down, we have to, as we call our storage season, we have to release right now a minimum of 100 CFS over the winter. And then 8 years down the road, that'll get bumped up to 300. And then later down the road, eventually it's up to potentially 500 CFS. We'll have to release for wintertime flows.
So compared to prior to the HCP being implemented, are we releasing more water than we normally would have?
Yes, the prior minimum flow was 25 CFS. So in the past 70 years, after irrigation season, they would ramp down and they would have basically 25 CFS for the whole winter, and they would store everything else. But now, like I said, we're up to 100 CFS.
100 to 300 potentially.
Well, right now we're at 100 for the next 7 years, and then after that on that 8th year, then we go to up to 300.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that kind of leads me into my next little segue here, and I'm gonna close this one down, and I want to jump over to this guy here. Can you guys see this okay? Yeah, okay. So right now we are, actually, hold on, let me change, I want to go. Okay, so right now we're in the very early stages of researching design, looking through the permission process. We've hired a consulting group out of Washington, D.C. called the Ferguson Group, and they're helping us with this project. But in a nutshell, what we're looking to do is we're looking to move our pumping plant from the Crooked River and install it. So this is the Crooked River right here. Can you guys see my cursor? Okay, so this is the Crooked River here. Right here is Opal Springs, where Deschutes Valley Water gets their water. And this is Lake Billy Chinook right here. So what we're looking to do is move our existing pumping plant down further to the actual lake, the reservoir, Lake Billy Chinook, and construct a new pumping facility that would essentially pump 400 CFS into our main canal. The original plan and design was down here. This was by the marina, and it was going to be coming up. We'd have a re-regulating reservoir, and then kind of go skirts around Culver. And anyway, we found an alternate location up here, right around the corner from Opal Springs, that has a lot less landowners, and then we can actually get directly onto our existing easement right here, and we can follow our existing easement back to our main canal. So it's a lot less pipe and a little bit of a less of a lift as far as lifting the actual water. But it's a very, very ambitious project here. We're looking at 400 CFS, which is going to require about 45,000 horsepower.
Hey, Josh.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm not seeing that screen.
Oh, you're not?
No. I don't think a few others are seeing it either.
I'm not either.
How about that?
I see the there you go. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, so kind of backing up, so we have an existing 200 CFS water right on the Crooked River. And what we want to do is move that water right, not necessarily move the water right, but move our pumping plant down, and we can access that full 200 CFS right here. And then any additional water that we release over the winter time, we'll be able to pick that up out of Lake Billy Chinook. And then also there is a possibility that we would be able to lease water from the Warm Springs tribes as well to help suffice this full 400 CFS pumping plant. It's a very, very ambitious project. We're looking at $350 to $400 million for the original design. With the alternate design, I think we can get it down quite a bit less, maybe a $250 million price range. But that pumping plant there would be able to supply all the district's needs, but more importantly, it gives us reliable water, but it has a lot more actually biological benefits to that for the fish. And so, case in point, one of the concerns for the Lake Billy Chinook area is runoff from farms up in the Crooked River Basin that have ran off and goes into the Crooked River, goes down to Lake Billy Chinook, any type of pollutants or anything like that. If North Unit were to move our pumping plants down, we would actually be able to pump that before it went into Lake Billy Chinook. Another one is we move those pumps, it would free up the entire Crooked River all the way up to Bowman Dam. And so the fish would be able to migrate all the way up to the base of Bowman Dam there and free and clear, which would be another huge benefit.
So that sounds like you're stealing clean water from Lake Billy Chinook and allowing the runoff to go in to replace it.
No, actually we're pumping the runoff.
Oh,
So-
okay.
so we're
Also,
pumping the
question,
runoff into
you
the
said
river.
you have 200 CFS rights, but you're going to take 400 out of the lake. Sounds like you're taking 200 you don't own.
So
I don't
the water that we release for wintertime flows, so we release that in the wintertime, and then we're able to pick that water back up during the summertime. So it creates a storage account or storage in Lake Billy Chinook. So we're releasing it, goes down, we store it there, and then we pick that up during the summertime. And then in addition to that, there's another potentially 200 CFS from the tribes that we would be able to access as well. So as a combination, we'd be able to get all that water.
Okay.
What would that do to the water level at Lake Billy?
Not really much. So just on the Crooked River arm alone, during this year, so this year was an extreme drought time. The average outflows on the Crooked River was roughly 1,200 CFS. And so if we're pumping a max 400, you still have the 800 coming in, but you still have the other three arms of the river. You've got the Deschutes River and you got the Metolius River that are coming in. So in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really affect it a whole lot.
We've got property up on the Metolius arm. That's why I was curious.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Well, wouldn't have any effect. The one effect that it would have on the Deschutes is there would be more water going down the Deschutes because we wouldn't have to divert as much in our bend diversion. We can allow that water to bypass, and then we could pick it up with our pumps.
Josh, what's the operational cost for electricity to pump that out of Lake Billy Chinook?
So we're looking right now anywhere from 3 to 6 million, depending on what kind of design that we go with.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big project and a heavy lift for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Lutz, okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So this is more of a water requirements based on crop question. And so I was, I'm a little bit fact checking because I was reading an article in a wine magazine that it takes less water to grow grapes for wine production than it takes to grow marijuana. And so there's a little bit of a tussle between wine growers and cannabis growers. Can you comment on that?
We do have a winery in our district, and unfortunately, my ditch rider would know the exact amount that they order. So I couldn't really answer the winery aspect of it. However, back in 2019, 2020, we did have a large influx of hemp, and that as far as aggregated acres of hemp, and the water consumption on hemp is, itty bitty amount. And that was really helpful to the district because there was a lot less water. So if that indeed is true, that would be good. Let's plant some grapes.
Well, yeah, anyway, okay, thank you. And it's probably more just, different crops require different water to grow. And that's kind of up to the farmer to decide, because you're saying, here's how much water you get. And then what crop you use is somewhat up to you, is kind of what I hear you saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then, so right now we're sourcing funding to do the preliminary design work, or what they call the feasibility study on this project. So it's a little bit of engineering and feasibility to make sure that we don't get out over our skis and make sure we dot all of our I's, cross all of our T's. So far, we've approached PGE, the tribes, pretty much every environmental agency that we can think of, even the ones that don't like us. We've approached them and talked about this project, and we've actually got a lot of thumbs up and a lot of, hey, this is a really good project. And so at this point, we haven't seen a lot of stout opposition, should I say, for this particular project. And there is a renewable energy aspect of it. If we do install, one of the design we're looking at is maybe installing a 2,000 acre temporary holding facility, and then during peak demand, we can let that water come back down and go back into Lake Billy Chinook, and that would spin some turbines to produce some electricity. So those are some of the design elements that we're looking at. Either it's called a pump back system, So we're looking at that, and a couple other benefits. But the tribes really like it because of the number one, opening up Crooked River, and then it has a huge biological benefit as well.
Josh, is there any options for like other reservoirs being built or other storage areas? Like I want to say like Willow Creek area up that area as a possibility to store water like Haystack?
Yeah, we did do a study a number of years ago. It's called a system improvement plan, and we studied all of the options that we had on the table. One of them was this Lake Billy Chinook project. The other was putting actually two different reservoirs. One reservoir up near Sun River. The other one would be down here by the prison in Madras. But for various reasons, most of them environmental, they really just didn't pan out and pencil out in the long run. And especially in the environment we have now, where people are more concerned about taking dams out versus putting them in. So right now, the best avenue of approach for us is the Lake Billy Chinook program. And then in addition to that, we're working with currently right now, our partners, Central Oregon Irrigation District, they're installing 3.5 miles of 8.5 foot diameter pipe in their system right now. And as that pipe is being installed next spring, so the savings that they'll save by piping the portion of their district, North Unit will get an additional 30 CFS. And then in addition to that, we're also working on with the DRC and DBBC to offer on-farm incentives to patrons of COID that they could fallow portions of their property, and North Unit would buy that water, and then we would have to repay a portion of that in winter release flows. So there's a lot of different projects and pilot programs that we're working on and exploring to try to make up the deficit that this drought has brought to our, to our situation, to our reality, our new reality. Oh, any questions on Lake Billy Chinook? I know it's, like I said, the 30,000 foot view. I didn't really go into a whole lot of detail on it.
Does the pump take from the top of the lake, or does it pull cold water from the bottom?
It would be more the upper portion, the warmer water at the top.
Okay.
So any other questions or anything for me?
I guess I'll ask one more. The requirements in the wintertime and it was 25 CFS, now it's 100 CFS. In a year like this year, what happens if there's just not enough water to meet those requirements, especially like in the late summer? I mean, who gets cut first? Would you go back to those water rights chart, those dates, those water rights were issued? And, is there wiggle room in there with the habitat program that, hey, we may not be able to do 100, we might have to do 75 or something like that? What happens if there just isn't enough water?
Yeah, there's a portion of the HCP that calls for what they call adaptive management. So as our biologists and as U.S. Fish and Wildlife biologists get together and see the current situation on the ground, we're able to make modifications to our operating procedures based on recommendations from those agencies, those governing agencies. So we can deviate a little bit. There is a bit of wiggle room, not much. And to answer your question, the way it works is, if you have a junior water right, you're entitled to the water. If you don't use it, the North Unit can get it. But if other people are using the water and it's not available for us, the way the law is written is frogs before farmers, unfortunately. And so we would have to relinquish that water to suffice the HCP requirements. And so I'm praying that we don't have another year like we had this past year as far as droughts are concerned. And then the bottom line for North Unit patrons is we just have to reduce our allotment even more, and the farmers would get less water, and then less crop production, and a lot more fallowed fields, and those issues, the weeds and different things that come up with that. So I hope we can get a good winter. I mean, so far it's been a good start, and I hope we get a good winter, fill our reservoir, and then we could have a semi-normal year next year.
I guess real quick, can you explain how much water we save by piping versus natural seepage that eventually ends up in Billy Chinook?
Yeah, it depends on the area that you're going to be piping, and the geological formations and how much water we're running through that. We piped the first 13 miles of our canal, and that was about a 90 CFS savings, I believe. That was back in the 90s. And then there's another, probably 20, let's see, 41, about another 17 miles before it gets to Haystack. And there is a fairly considerable loss in that section there, maybe 5 CFS or so in that area that we do lose to evaporation and seepage and stuff like that. But I don't have the exact watershed plan or study in front of me to give you exact details, but that's kind of the roundabout answer to your question.
Thanks, Josh.
Sure. So any other questions for the district or for me? Or?
Well, this is Alan Unger. I used to be a water champion when I was a county commissioner, and I hear all these things you're saying, and you have a hard job. Just about you, what's it like moving from California into Oregon? How has life been different?
Well, I grew up as a small mountain community of about 15,000 people. We lived at 7,000 feet, and on average we'd get I don't know, probably 20 feet of snow over the course of the winter, and plentiful rain during the summer. And moving here on the eastern side of the Cascades, it's obviously a lot drier, as you know. And we have this big chart on the wall in our boardroom there, and it shows the kind of the fluctuation of flows. And typically it's about a 7-year cycle that you kind of get 7 years good years, and it kind of tapers off a little bit, then it kind of comes back up. And so right now we're actually in about year 10 of the drought cycle, and we keep telling ourselves, any year it's going to turn around and we're going to start getting a bumper year. But it's this year for me, it was it was incredibly stressful. When I had to make the announcement that we were reducing flows a second time, people wanted my head on a platter. And we put together a town hall meeting with all of our patrons. We had about 300 patrons show up, and I spent 3 hours explaining to our patrons why we had to make the decisions we had to make. And it was incredibly stressful, but by God's grace, I made it through it, and became stronger for it. And here we are, trying to be optimistic and doing what we can to move forward. It's it's a tough, as you say, it's a tough road to hoe.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Right. Well, Josh, thanks so much for your time. This is fascinating stuff. And like Alan said, you've got a pretty difficult job. So thank you for doing what you do. And it was great information. I mean, a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think if I had $1 for every, sucks to be you or glad I'm not you, I'd probably be able to retire by now.
Fair enough. No, it's a tough job. So thank you for doing it. You're doing a good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks again for the opportunity here to let us talk about this. I know Mike is in contact with you guys, and we might be doing another presentation early next year. And maybe on that presentation, we can get a little more in depth and, more fine numbers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'd love that.
Okay.
So awesome. Well, thank you again. And thank you all for attending. We'll see you all next week.
Very good. Thank you. Yep. You're welcome.
Take care, guys. Thanks.